This is the Sisterhood Society podcast, where three sisters talk life, food, fashion, kids, and everything in between. Become part of our sisterhood where everyone is welcome at our table. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Sisterhood Society podcast. We are so excited to all three be back on the podcast. We've had some breaks where Tara was out for medical reasons, I was out for medical reasons, and now all three sisters are back in town. So Whitney should just be the new host because she's the only one.
She's the steady, stable.
You guys joke that I was not a part of this podcast, that I was in a closet from another room.
I actually so we were guest podcasts. I almost said stars. We were guest podcast hosts with our friend Kelly France, who has a podcast which is called Finally Fearless. And I was listening to it. I was making lunch yesterday, and I was really proud of how much Whitney contributed.
Like,
I know.
You talked a lot.
I'm just a smart girl. I have a lot of really smart things to say.
Well, I feel like as a whole, the three of us, you and I have a tendency to just like take the lead. And so Whit just listens. And so I felt like on that podcast specifically, I was trying to like aim questions at you so that you were getting a chance to.
Yeah, I was trying to pause and being like, oh, Whit, like you give that one away.
You guys are just being so respectful.
We were. Well, that's what family does, you know.
We don't do it in our everyday lives, but when we're guest stars, we do.
Guest stars. I know. I always think about like if someone interviewed Phil for a podcast, like how they would. I mean, I guess if they're asking you questions, it's easier, but he wouldn't just be like really forward with the way that he's talking. So I was like thinking I have to keep that in mind when Whitney's on the podcast. But I was also like really proud of you. I was like, wow, Whitney, like when we were growing up was known as like the quiet kid and just definitely like the more shy of the bunch. And I feel like you've definitely grown so much in your social skills.
Since you were 8, we're so proud of you, Whit.
So now that you're 36, you've just really developed as
you really blossomed.
I was just allowing you guys to be the stars of the show growing up. I was like, you know what? I don't need to be the star. I will let Caitlin take the star lead in this, and I will just sit on the sideline and cheer her on.
Ooh, you can't let someone be a star when they already are, you know. You can't just let me. I already am.
It's true. You just are born with star potential.
That's funny. We've been joking about my TikTok taking off because I was like, you guys, if my TikTok takes off, we can just close up shop and you guys can manage me as a book talker full time. Wouldn't that be so fun?
Well, Sarah wants to manage you.
I was like, basically,
we're just going to ride on your coattails.
Yeah, I was like, every ad, I'll split it 3 ways. Each of us gets 33%. We'll give Dad like a 3% cut, and then...
Who says I have to sit on the sidelines? Why wouldn't I just like start uploading videos to your TikTok?
To my TikTok?
Get your own.
You can get your own TikTok, but
should I pose my TikTok idea of what I should do?
Okay, if Whitney starts a TikTok and goes viral, I will literally shave my head. Like I literally would I would
that'd
never
be
see
worth
that
it.
coming.
You could do book reviews too. That's not hard.
I mean, I could, but I don't want to.
Excuse me, it is hard, first of all, and second of all, me and Phil would just have matching shiny heads. It would be like that movie Coneheads. I feel like I'd go viral just for that.
I meant it wouldn't be hard from the standpoint that you already read a bunch, so you'd have tons of content. Mm-hmm. That's what I meant by hard.
Yeah, I don't want to.
There's a girl getting canceled right now on TikTok for saying her job was hard, so we better be careful about that.
Oh my word, I'm so over.
I know there's like one side of TikTok that's like canceling her, and the other side that's like making videos to stand up for her because she hasn't posted since it happened, and she has like, have you guys heard about this?
Yeah. I've seen. I remember who she is, but I also have seen people. I've seen the videos about people standing up for her, talking about how ridiculous it is that they're trying to cancel her.
Yeah, I don't know if this is something to be proud of, but I finally feel like I'm watching enough TikTok that I like understand pop culture. Like I feel like I'm incredibly informed. And 30 minutes before bed just wasn't enough. So now I'm just introducing it into all my free time. I hardly watch Instagram stories.
Well, so the thing that with Instagram reels, they're so boring. Like
It's so
TikTok, you
boring.
actually learn something. It's funny.
Yeah.
I sent the Bath and Body Works rant to Whitney yesterday, and then she sent it to Isaac.
That was insane.
I sent it to Kate, and I was like, you have to watch this, all 5 parts. It's hilarious.
That's what's so nice about TikTok, because with Instagram reels, if you're just scrolling through the reels, you hear the same freaking sound
over and over again.
And the same format. Everybody's doing the same thing, but just slightly different. And I'm like, this is so boring.
And they're all songs that were viral 3 months ago on TikTok, or even longer sometimes.
What's interesting, part of the rant is when she's like, and then Jen said that Jen was gonna go to another store.
The fact that she memorized it to that degree and had all the mannerisms. I mean, she even had like when she would put her hair behind her ears, and like
and then
chewing
she would,
gum,
like, look off to the side, and then be like put her face. Okay, for those of you that don't know, we should put this in like
how long it takes for her to do that. Like that.
We should put this in the caption description
so
people can click on it. This gal, if you're not on TikTok, this gal learned and memorized like an 8-minute rant of this person that went on YouTube very angry about not being able to get these 2 Bath and Body Works candles.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
It's like frosted peppermint and like
it's iced
winter
gingerbread
apple.
Oh yeah.
Yes. She called Appleton
and Green Bay and Kenosha. She was like going on and on.
Fond du Lac
and the outlet store.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Kenosha's in Wisconsin. Wait, was it Wisconsin?
Those are all Wisconsin.
Yeah, they're all Wisconsin.
Oh yeah. I was thinking Michigan. Yeah, it's pretty cute. But the girl actually from the original like viral YouTube video is now on TikTok, and she tagged her. Did you notice that?
Well, she tagged her and she said, "I hope I made you proud." But the girl that did the video, I was like, how in the world did she learn that? Because I mean, you'd have to watch it for hours to get all those mannerisms down. And she said that apparently the video is relatively old, and she used to watch it on
years old.
Yeah. So she used to watch it on YouTube, and she said she had like the first 2 minutes and the last 2 minutes already memorized from like years ago. It was the middle 6 minutes, or like it was like the middle parts. She said that it took her a while, that she just would like literally watch it over and over and over again and just do like snippets and then get it down and record it.
It's insane, and it's hilarious.
She almost has her like voice intonation and stuff.
No, for
too.
real.
It's
she
hilarious.
matches the note.
Yeah.
She matches the note of that same gal.
Yeah, it's very rare that it's very rare that you can tell that it's almost like 2 different people talking.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
It's so
I was showing Whitney the viral video that the Morning Toast keeps talking about, where it's that little girl who's like, is she like Irish or Scottish?
Scottish, I think.
And she's like, thanks a lot, Rachel. Your charger be charging on your iPad instead of mine.
I hope like, you're happy.
Thanks a lot, you idiot. Like, I hope you're happy because I told Mom. And they like always talk about how their charger isn't charging on me iPad because it's charging on your iPad. And Whitney was like, I've never like understand some of their inside jokes. And I was like, okay, well, this one's this. I like sent her the YouTube video yesterday. And that's like a really old, like 10-year-old YouTube viral video reference, which is so funny. Actually, Phil and I were actually just talking about this in New York. Like, what was the first viral video? And I said, I think Charlie Bit Me was the first one I can remember.
Even back, like Vines and stuff, there was like the muffins, banana.
Or like shoes. Oh my God, shoes.
Yeah, or that one that's like, okay, here's the earth.
Yeah. Phil said E-Bombs World was his first.
Yeah.
And there was like a ninja video with nunchucks or something like that. But I was like saying how weird it's evolved from like things going viral on YouTube to now. But anyways.
Crazy.
Wow. We have not even said like what is good. So
well, and we also introduced this as a Sisterhood Society podcast, but this is actually Sister Stories.
Yeah, so this is the story time. What is it? What's our podcast? What's our book called?
What is it called?
Sisterhood.
No.
Sister Story.
Is it called
Storyhood Society?
No. Story. Storyhood Society.
What it says? I have it on my sweatshirt.
I think it's Story Society.
Story Society.
Story Society. Sister stories. Yeah.
Okay. Clearly, we've taken a big break from the book club, which we're bringing it back, and we're gonna relearn our name. I think it's Story Society.
It is Story Society.
Okay, so we mainly wanted to pick a new book to announce to you guys, as well as Tara has a very riveting review of probably one of the most popular books on the internet.
Riveting review.
And so before we get into that, so this will be a book club episode, all things like books we've been reading, Tara's review from someone who hates to read, and then we'll announce the new book club book and dive right in. So Tara, why don't you tell us what's your good?
My chore idea has really changed things around here.
Oh, wow.
So I started making the kids do chores, which I think I talked about this on the podcast like last week or the week before. Mm-hmm. And so they're getting $1 a day or Monday through Friday, and they have to essentially like fold laundry when they get home and put it away, unload the dishwasher. They have to help clean up after dinner, like wipe down the cupboards, sweep around the table or sweep the kitchen, and just like put away stuff. And then every morning they have to at least pull the covers up on their bed. Doesn't have to be like bed made with, pillows perfect, but at least pull the covers up and their room has to be tidy. So,
Are they doing
it? The rooms, so we were getting the house cleaned this morning, so I was making sure that the rooms were actually cleaned up. Briley and Britton actually did better than Brecken, because I walked into Brecken's room and she had like the walls lined with stuff, and I was like, what part of making sure everything is off the floor did you not understand? So she has like bracelets that she's making, so the rubber band ones, and then like also string ones, and she had like strings taped to the floor, and I was like, how are we supposed to sweep the floor like this? So anyway, but yes, they have been relatively keeping it tidy upstairs. I would probably have to check it daily to make sure that they're staying on top of it, but as a whole, it has just taken like the stress level down, because the house isn't like a constant bomb, and then it's just less to pick up each time because they're picking up as they go. So
Tara was like, I'm so happy, and I was like, I'm happy for me too. She's like, why? And I was like, I don't know, if you're happy, I'm happy.
It's just, I felt like I was getting suffocated by my own house, and it's so, Whit and I were talking about this, it's so overwhelming to have to pick up your house to then clean it. And so you just don't ever get all of it fully picked up, and then it's just such a mess that they don't want to help, because they're just like, it's gonna take forever. And so it's just like this constant like negative cycle spin.
Well, my good is I actually implemented Tara's cleaning into my home now too. And so I am paying the boys $5 a week, and it's been really helpful, even just like keeping up with the dishes and the laundry. That alone was so huge.
Can you tell them what you said when they said that $1 wasn't enough?
Oh my gosh. So Riv and Andy both were like, what, $1? And I'm like, okay, so you can either do it and get $1, or I'll force you to do it and not give you the $1. And I was like, so you can choose what you want to do. But either way, you're doing it.
They're like, Mom, inflation. Like, it was $5 a day.
We had this conversation before she had instilled it with them. And I was like, I just told my kids it's the cost of living here. So if you want to live in this home, you can get paid to help with some of the stuff. But some of it is just for the sake of the fact that we have 6 people living here and everyone has to contribute. And if you don't like that, you can find a new house to live in. And so
they're like, I'm going to Whitney's house.
But after we'd done the chore thing with prizes, didn't Indy ask you?
Yeah.
He said,
Indy actually is really jazzed about it. It's like he likes knowing that he's being helpful. Riv is the one that complains about it the most, and he's the one that I always kind of have to get on, but he's the one that does a better job. So,
but what did Indy say? Because he said something about Brecken and Briley are getting prizes.
Oh yeah, he came home from school one day and just like really excited about something, and he's like, Mom, Taylor gives Brecken and Briley $1 to do chores around the house, and I was wanting to I want to know what you can give, if you can give me some chores, because I want some Roblox. And I'm like, okay. And for Indy, he always like looks up at like the corners of the ceiling when he's talking to you. So the whole time he's like, And so I want some Roblox. Like, as soon as he got to what he wanted, he like stared me in the face. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to earn that.
Indy is also a 5-year-old kid from the middle of
Boston.
So.
He can't say his L's, and it's like my favorite thing. Actually, the other day, so we play, this is not even on topic. So we play this like word game. And so we take a letter of the alphabet, and then we like name off all the letters that we can, or all the words that start with that letter. Well, we did L. And so Indy's like, yav, yast, like saying his L words, but he says Y instead of L. And I was like, yellow. And I was like, no, that's not an L word. Because I heard his like Y sound. Like yellow, and he's like, yeah, that's a good one. I was like, oh wait, no, that starts with a Y.
It's cute. Well, my good is I got to go to Phil's first show, which we're going to talk about in our next episode, and just the life of a musician's wife. We thought that would be kind of an interesting topic, I think, because that's something I feel like I don't share a lot about on social media, mainly because Phil doesn't like to be on camera. So, and there's like some stuff that like obviously I can't show or like talk about, not that I'm like behind the scenes that much, but you know what I mean? Like there's probably some stuff I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you know. So his first show was at Radio City Music Hall, which I feel like, I guess why I felt like it was so special, one, because it was the first show of the tour and they haven't headlined in a couple years, and two, just it's such a bucket list like venue to get to do. And we got to meet the designer who makes one of her outfits, and I cannot think of his name. It'll come to me. His friend was there, and they were at the after party, and she was like really wanting to meet the band, which I thought was cute. She was this older woman who was an author, and she was telling us all about her books. Anyways, she said she was writing like life lessons, a children's book, and then a book all about sex. And I was like, wow, that's such broad topics.
That's random.
It reminded me of a TV show. But anyways, so she was like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. That's what they say about Radio City Music Hall. And I was like, oh, that's actually really like cool and encouraging to hear. So just being there, like when it was empty, was super cool. And then like getting to see all the fans like there specifically for her was just like really special. And yeah, it was fun to be a part of it. And everyone, like a lot of her people were there, like her industry people, to like celebrate and stuff. So, and nothing quite hits like the after show pizza. Like that's just like the best part. Everyone's like chill because the show's over and you get to have pizza and it's great. So anyways, the trip was really fun, but I'll talk about that in our next episode. Okay, so we're going to get into Verity's, or Tara's Verity review. So first of all, I owe Tara some money because she did.
I did fulfill.
Follow through with it.
I did fulfill. Yeah, you can just Venmo it to me if you would like. Just kidding.
So essentially, Tara was saying that she doesn't understand how you can be like spooked in a book.
No, I was saying like, well, yeah, I guess spooked or scared is the same, because I was saying
she's
that,
like, no, I said scared.
I did say scared. I was saying like, because I feel like spooked in my head means like it's creepy, whereas like scared is like full on, like I'm gonna lock all the doors, you know, like hunker down under the covers. Like that's what I think of. But
semantics.
But we were saying that I was asking, how do you get scared by a book? Because on a movie, the music changes and it's like more like people can pop out from places and stuff like that. Whereas in a book, you can just close it.
So were you spooked?
No.
Okay.
So like, do you want me to just go into my full-fledged review?
First of all, the book that we challenged Tara to read is Verity by Colleen Hoover.
Because you said it was one of your favorite books.
Yeah. So Colleen Hoover is typically known as a new adult romance author, is like her genre. And she is a very readable author. So she's kind of like a gateway drug, I feel like, for new readers.
Yeah.
And that's the way that she's described, because she didn't actually try to become an author. She just wrote a book as a joke for her friends and family and uploaded it on like Wattpad, I think it was.
She wrote a book as a joke?
she wrote a book like for her friends called Slammed, which was Slammed, and it was like it like went viral like 10, 13 years ago, whatever. And I think it was like 2008 or something like that. And so then other people found it and liked it, and then she kind of fell into being an author by mistake, essentially.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So yeah, so Verity was the first book she ever wrote that was a different genre than she normally writes, and she actually has another.
What's her normal genre?
Romance, new adult romance is what it's called. So she also has a paranormal book that's sort of like a romance paranormal that Whitney's read as well, called Layla. Right? You read that one, right?
I didn't love it, but I also paranormal stuff isn't really my vibe.
And then but yeah, and she's actually coming out with her second thriller next year. So people liked Verity enough, and it got actually it's kind of funny too, because the extra chapter just came out yesterday.
Oh yeah, in that book, which is supposed to be from Verity's perspective.
Right. I get mine tomorrow. It came a day late for some reason, so I'll keep you guys posted. But anyway, so Tara was like, I'll read it for $100.
Well, you said that it was your favorite book, and you were saying that it's a book that gets people back into reading.
It does, yeah.
Or just reading in general.
Yeah, because it's more engaging.
So overall, my synopsis of it is that it's an easy read, because I would say I feel like some authors have a tendency to add too many extra words that they could just like leave out.
Right.
So because you'll be shocked, but I did actually start The People We Meet on Vacation.
Really?
And while I find it entertaining, I feel like she uses a lot of extra words that I'm like, you could just cut that out. Like it gets wordy.
I disagree, but okay. I appreciate the perspective.
And so because I find myself having to like stop and like reread a sentence to just like fully grasp like everything she's saying. Whereas Colleen's or Verity's, I felt like I was able to just like,
Colleen is very much so very easy to read. The way she writes is just very easy to understand, comprehend, and move forward.
Yeah.
Which is why they're such quick reads.
The first sentence of the book, I was like, oh geez, what am I like getting myself into? Because she, she's basically witness to a guy getting run over by a car.
Well, and that's actually a thing Colleen's known for, is that she always has like a really shocking first sentence. So like, I think is it Maybe Someday, where the first sentence is about someone getting punched?
I think so.
Yeah,
something.
like
I
she
don't
punches
know.
her ex-boyfriend.
Can't remember.
Something like that. So
it was Maybe Someday.
Yeah, like I think I'm trying to think. Here, let me look at it. I have 2 Colleen Hoover books.
I feel like that is very stereotypical of Colleen Hoover, is like kind of knowing that she can pull you in with a sentence.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna see if I can.
She kind of knows what she can do to the reader, and she like really plays that up.
This one says, I passed through the hospital doors knowing it'll be the last time. That's confess. And then Regretting You says, I wonder if humans are the only living creatures that ever feel hollow inside. Okay, that one's not as juicy, but I feel like Verity, you're like, oh gosh.
Yeah. Well, because she talks about how like his head cracks like basically like a champagne bottle popping off, and like she gets splattered with blood, and I was like,
yeah,
geez.
I remember the first time I read that, I was like, oh my gosh. So really quick before you start, I actually was told when I first started getting back into reading, I randomly had gone on Instagram and said like, what book should I read next? And I had read November 9th, and yeah, I think I'd read November 9th and It Ends With Us. And I had a bunch of people message me and say, you should read Verity. And so it was my turn to pick a book for my friend group book club. So I chose Verity, not knowing anything about it. And I was like halfway through and was like, I am mortified that I chose this for like my friend book club, because it is really dark. And so I like text the group chat and was like super nervous, because I was like, oh, I have a group of moms that are in this book club that are like, a lot of them are like fresh postpartum, and there's some triggering like baby content and stuff in there too. But anyways, it is one of those things when you first read it, you're like, oh, this is shocking.
Yeah. I remember texting you because you're like, you have to read Verity. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this for you.
But obviously at the end it makes sense. So keep going.
Yeah.
Well, so either way, I guess I just, as a whole, I felt like it's definitely dark. I think the writing of it it's hard when she's reading the manuscript through. It's extremely hard. I felt like if you've lost a baby, for sure, it's reading through that is triggering. Mm-hmm. But I think, I mean, it was obviously kept my attention the whole time, but then it's spicy multiple times throughout the book. And like, so it's just like a weird mixture of like dark and like, graphic. And then in addition to that, like, I just found it odd. I didn't find it to be that scary. Like, I mean, obviously it was creepy the couple times that like she interacted with Verity, like if she went to her room, but I kept thinking as it was going, like, this could be scarier. Like she could have done more things to make it more scary. Like if Verity truly can get up and walk around, like she could have interacted with them on more than one occasion to like make it more creepy. I also found it odd that like she had countless opportunities from the letter side of it. Like she had countless opportunities to leave if she really wanted to, like when he went into the city and things like that, which I get would have like ruined the book. But they're just like her reading the letter back or like having the knife in her room. Like there was just a lot of stuff that didn't quite make sense. And then the ending I felt like cut off really fast. And I just felt like it could have been creepier. And I felt like it's pushing you to want the two of them to get together and make Verity to be like this horrible person. But the whole time you're reading it, I was thinking this surely can't actually be how she actually feels about her kids. So as a whole, I didn't love the ending. And I just felt like I didn't consider it to be overly thrilling, if that makes sense. Like I thought and I think missed opportunities would have been like if they would have gotten stuck in the basement when they went down there to look for like the fish tank and different things like that. Like I think there could have been more things that would have made it like way creepier.
I was going to say, I feel like there's a difference between thriller and horror. So thrillers are really more suspenseful, whereas horror has like, there's like things called like body horror where it's more of like a slasher and like disgusting things happen.
Yeah, but I don't think, but if I'm not saying she would have had to kill them, but I'm just saying like like when she's watching her through the window or they see her at the top of the stairs or like different, I mean, there was like 3 interactions, like the whole book. And so I kept like thinking like, when's it gonna get scary? You know, like it didn't. And so that's why I'm thinking like I don't know if I would have considered it a thriller. I would have considered it like a messed up romance, but like
suspense. Yeah. It's more suspenseful than anything.
But then like it got real weird, like when he actually then just chokes her or like suffocates her or whatever. The whole thing went like real strange, real fast right there, like the last couple chapters. And then you're like, well, now he already read the manuscript, right? Like, why did he wait to bring her there? Like, what was the point of that? Like, did he have like preconceived notions with this other author? Like, I found the whole thing just to be kind of strange. Like, I felt like it left me with more questions than answers.
And what happened to the twins again? I'm forgetting.
They both died.
They both died and then they had
in the manuscript, supposedly she drowns one and the other one drowns on the own. Like she tries to save them, but she actually intentionally drowns the one that she like didn't like. Essentially.
And the other one died of an allergic reaction at a slumber party. And she was convinced that the other twin was the one responsible for it.
Oh, that's right.
That it was like peanut butter or something like that. Yeah.
So in the end, are you team manuscript, thinking like the manuscript was what was accurate, or are you team letter?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like which one do you believe?
I feel like in my heart of hearts, I'm hoping that it's the letter because it's hard to believe that any one person could be that dark.
Messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Like as a mom, even thinking and writing that about my own children, that alone is just sickening.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's why I think that it's not real. That's why I think that it's team letter and that she was doing it as a way to like escape Jeremy. I'll be so interested to know, because people say now they like rethink everything once they get the second chapter or this last chapter, But a lot of people are like, oh, well, it was Jeremy's fault or he's abusive or whatever. And that's why, you know, she did this as a way to get out of everything. I feel like Verity's intention was the fact that she was using this as a way to have someone else be a pawn so that she could escape. Well, and I do feel like the whole book is flawed, but I feel like the reason Colleen Hoover did it was to have a conversation. Like, I think that what she was trying to do was to make it confusing so that people would talk about it. And she even said, so after I read it, a follower sent me this, like, I sent it to Whitney too, this like write up in one of Colleen Hoover's like main fan Facebook groups that she's a part of. And it says, like, I don't know what is right and what's wrong because I didn't write from Verity's perspective. Like, I wasn't in Verity's head. I wrote from Lowen's perspective. So Colleen Hoover is even saying, like, I don't know if I'm team manuscript or team letter. So with this new extra chapter, she's basically saying, I know that, like, I'm giving you another perspective potentially.
But Colleen Hoover, you know, is not going to like close a chapter on it. It's probably going to be open-ended so that people will continue discussing it.
Well, yeah, it's a great way to sell books. Because...
it's pretty smart too, because you're getting people back into that same story to like continue talking about it.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this today. I'm such an idiot. I should have just gone to Barnes and Noble and read the extra chapter.
I did think it's odd that you're buying the whole book. Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about it and I'm like, if I was Colleen Hoover, I would have wrapped them so that you can't do that. So you have to buy them.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? At a bookstore, because if you already own the first one, there's no motivation to like buy the second one. Yet I still did, which, you know.
Yep. She got you.
Yeah, she did. But she doesn't need to. Did you know she sold more books than the Bible last year?
I saw your post.
Like, the Bible has been the #1 seller of books of all time, like, ever. And Colleen Hoover beat out the Bible. I mean, it's like actually kind of sad, like, that the Bible's on a decline and then like we're reading Verity instead.
It was definitely engaging. Like, I would give it that. It wouldn't be my favorite book of all time, but it kept my attention, at least to like finish it and want to know like how it ended. I just felt like she could have gone with it in a lot of different directions. And it felt like she was up against a deadline. And right at the end, she was just like, okay, I'll just finish it off like this. Yeah. Like, it felt like it was building really good. And then we started getting to like the 3/4 of the end. And I was like, what?
So your perspective reminds me so much of this girl I watch on YouTube where she's so critical of what she reads. Well, no, listen, because
you remind me of this wench on YouTube who is so critical.
I mean it in the sense that, like, you know, there's like most people kind of go with the flow and say like, oh, this is a popular author, and would, like, for example, Emily Henry. Like, vast majority of the population just loves Emily Henry, and she's in every bookstore, every airport bookstore. Like, she is so mass produced that everyone reads her books, and no one really takes it with a grain of salt. They're just like, oh, this is a popular book and it's good. So what I was going to say is, when this girl specifically likes something, I usually take a second look because she rates so many things so low, like to the point where I'm kind of like, does she even like to read? Like, she's like so critical. And she's said on videos before that people comment that a lot on her YouTube because they'll be like, why do you even read? Like, you literally don't seem to enjoy much of anything. And she so rarely gives a 5-star or even a 4-star for that matter. And then one time I read a book she rated 5 stars, and I was like, huh, like, I'm confused. So I would be interested to see, like, as you read more popular authors, like Taylor Jenkins Reid would be another example. She's even bigger than Emily Henry. And like, if you would, because you have more of like And I don't mean it in a critical way, but your viewpoint is more critical because even with Emily Henry, you're like, oh, it's wordy. This is fine.
Well, it's wordy, and I can't stand when they bounce back and forth. It's like I'm so present day, and then I'm back. I'm 11 summers ago, and now I'm like, yeah, it just drives me nuts. I'm like, just start at the beginning. Like, start me 11 summers ago and work me forward, because then I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense. And I'm like, oh, I didn't look at the top of the thing that said 12 summers ago. Like, it's just like stuff like that I feel like I have to.
It depends on the book for me about dual timelines, because dual timeline is like very popular.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting to the point where you're like, what happened in Croatia?
Yes, because I'm in New Orleans right now.
I get towards the end of the book and I'm like, what the heck happened in Croatia?
Yeah, because it does feel like it's taking forever to get to that point.
Yeah. But that's what makes it so good.
It does. I will say that she strung me along a little bit. And I would say too, like, I finished a book last night by Ruth Ware, The It Girl, which is her brand new thriller. And Ruth Ware is like top 5 probably most talked about thriller authors. Like, she's kind of like a cookie cutter, not cookie cutter meaning like her books are cookie cutter, but like everybody talks about her. And it was 420 pages, and at page 300 I was like, I'm gonna read the last chapter. Like, I was at that point where I was like, nothing has happened and the writing is beautiful, but like, for the love of all that is good and holy, just tell me who killed this person. Like, it was just too long. Like 120 pages too long. And if it's past like 330 pages, I'm bored. Like, I just I'm ready to move on to the next. There wasn't enough. Like, I just read a book, actually, I have a cute story. I read a book Rachel told me about that was like getting reviewed on TikTok. And this girl's a brand new author. Her name's Jael Hyde. And I didn't know she was a new author. She's like doing everything on her own. She's just getting started. She's like promoting and paying for everything on her own. And she came out with this book called Delta County, and it's a 240-page thriller. And I literally read it on one flight, like an hour and 40-minute flight. I was able to like fly through the whole thing. And each chapter ended with like a twist or some sort of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it ended cliffhanger. Yes. And it was so interesting because you couldn't stop. Like, you couldn't go to the bathroom because you were like, oh, I have to know what happens in the next chapter. And each chapter is like 5 or 6 pages. That's the kind of thriller I'm looking for, which is why I think Verity is readable, because it's short and it does that. Like, you're always like, oh crap, I have to read one more chapter. Yeah. Whereas this one I read last night, I was like, I'm not sure I care about the next chapter. Like, this is really well written, but way too long.
Okay, so I have been like, I'm a hard stan for ACOTAR, but I started reading Throne of Glass, and that's kind of how I feel about Throne of Glass. Like, I feel like, I don't know if this was her first set, like her first series that she started with, but like the first 2 books, I was just kind of like, not enough is happening for me to stay interested in this. The 3rd book is a lot better, but it's also still really long, and I'm sticking it out because I've come to like really like the characters, and I kind of want to see what happens. But that's kind of how I was with it. I'm like, can we speed this along or make something happen? Or like, I don't know. I'm the same way. I feel like when you get to that like 400 pages, you're just like, this wasn't necessary. Right. Could have broken it up in like 3 books or something.
I have to tell you, that author actually messaged me on TikTok, and she was like,
wait, who?
Jael Hyde messaged me on TikTok, and she was like, you and one other girl have reviewed my book, and I'm like selling so many books this week that I'm like overwhelmed and blah blah blah. And she made all these videos like saying thank you for people that were reviewing it. And she was like, the sequel comes out on Halloween, and I want to send it to you, but I want to send you my last book. And so she emailed me her other book.
You got so like nice? A direct arc.
I know.
Like, that's crazy.
Emailed it to you? Like, it's digital?
Yeah, so like you can get a copy, and then when you open it on your iPhone and email, you can send it to your Kindle app. And then it creates like a Kindle version. But she was like, I can send you a paperback version of the next one too, like the sequel to the one I reviewed. And I was like, oh. And she was like, you have no idea how much it means when people like review. And I'm like, honestly, at first I was like, I don't know if I'm doing much, because I didn't feel like my following, like I didn't feel like I had a following. But now I feel like I have enough like people following me, and I'm getting enough views that like I feel like I could make a difference. I do. I mean, that sounds really
it's like
weird.
I have purpose.
No, but like I feel like I've had a lot of people message me or comment on that video saying like I went and bought her book. And that one specifically only has like maybe 6,000 or 7,000 views, but like think about 6,000 people.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like
it doesn't
that's
take
like
much to change someone's life.
Yeah, an auditorium. It has 6,600 views and it has 29 comments. But yeah, people also commented on like the ones that have gone viral and said that they've also bought that book. So it's kind of cool. Like that was kind of like going back to the Michaela Guerra thing with her TikTok. They were saying like some people are mad about how much she charges for a video. I think it's like 85 grand for her to like promote, which I was like, Jeez. Dang, I need to get more followers. But the reason why is because anything she promotes, the brand sells out of it. So they get like, 10 times and it's true because do you remember when that Kat Von D like it was called like Apple Balm foundation?
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys remember that last fall?
Yeah.
Michaela was the one that talked about it and like I was like, I want to try it. I don't even wear other brand makeup out of what we sell. And I literally was like, I want to try it just for the sake of it. And you couldn't find it anywhere because she talked about it. So
it makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, I got to get some more followers so I can start charging 85,000 a video.
Well, the end result is that it's not my favorite book. It kept my attention and you still owe me $100.
Well, you'll always remember the first time you read the most viral book on the internet. So that's one thing. And
now I at least feel like I can fit into this conversation when you guys have at least some like one book that I've read.
Yeah. But also, did it make you interested in finding out like the hype behind more things?
Not really. I wanted to read the one that Whit mentioned as like her favorite, because if I do start roasting your books, I was going to need to have more in my arsenal. But I wanted to see like if I would like a beach read, like something that's just more like casual and fun, because I do like their banter in the book. And so that would probably be more Henry's? It would probably be more my speed.
For that. And actually that's why I like that book, because they're funny. It's actually legitimately funny. There is a spicy scene
coming up in Croatia.
Well, I guess
here's the thing. I'm not against spice. I just wasn't expecting it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Verity's spice is kind of like awkward, but like I feel like in the people.
Well, because out of nowhere she's like, and then I sat on his face, and you're like,
oh my gosh, yeah. You're like, whoa.
I was not expecting you to say that.
Well, that's probably exactly how she felt when she read it. Yeah, no, gosh, I feel like I was kind of almost expecting that because it was so dark and creepy that I was like, oh, there's probably, that kind of.
And I mean, I don't mind romance. It's not like I'm against like it completely, romance scenes in it, but it was just more like, geez, like it was graphic.
Yeah. Also, so there's a viral sound of, oh crap, what's her name? Kate Hudson, where she's like, can I get a dirty martini? Can I get a like dirty like slut muffin dirty martini? And she like keeps saying it until she's like, can I get like the skanky dirty dishwater like, and she just keeps making it funnier, and she does it like 5 times. So the sound went viral for people using it to rank spicy books. And they will be like level 1 spice, 2, 3, 4, like in the book community, people use that sound to do that. And some like one of them ranked a book that I thought was like the spiciest thing I ever read, to the point where I DNF'd it as like a level 2. And I was like, what are these people reading at level 5? Like, I was just like, what? It was My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey.
Gosh.
Which I think Tessa Bailey is like wild. And this girl was like, that was like number 2, like the slut muffin. And I was like, whoa,
yeah.
What?
There's some that even like with authors that I've read other books from them, totally like not gross. Then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I've heard this one is good, I'll read this one, and it'll be totally disgusting. And ones like that I don't even finish. I like, if I have to skip over so many scenes, I'm like, no, I'm not, like, this is not even worth it.
Right.
So I skip it, delete it from my library. I'm like, I don't want any more of that.
Actually, that book that you said was like wild that you ended up DNFing is like everyone like raves really highly about that book, The Roommate Experience.
I cannot. Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm not interested in that one, but
I didn't even get that far in that one. Like the minute. Yeah. No, I'm not even going to talk about it.
I remember you came to work and you were like, I read one of those books from the girl you sent me that YouTube of, and you're like, I'm kind of scarred for life.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad.
I got like a few chapters in, like not even very far. And already it was like uncomfortable. And I was like, surely it's not what like that. I don't know. I'm not even going to discuss it because it's not even worth it. Don't read it.
Also, I have one last hot take before we end, and then we'll announce the book club video. I read Luckiest Girl Alive because the Netflix series is coming out, and I thought the book was not good. Like, I was just like, first of all, it's gonna make a great show. Like, I feel like the show version of it, but it was like one of the biggest reveals happened at the very beginning, and I just felt like the main character is very, very unlikable, and it has to do with like the main trigger warning is rape. And I just don't like reading about rape. I think that's what I'm like realizing. And so it just messes with my head and I don't like it in my mind. And so I think that maybe was part of it. But I also felt like the book just like dragged. But people like, I mean, to the point where it became a show, like people love it. But Mila Kunis is going to be the main character and I love her, so I'm very excited to watch it. But I do feel like it's gonna be one of those things like almost kind of like The Summer I Turned Pretty, where like the show will be more magical than the book, because I loved The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Yeah, I still haven't read that one, but I think it's because I watched the show already, so like the mystery of it is gone.
Okay, so this is our book club book pick. This is the next one. It's called Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. And it says, I thought that her name was going to be hard to pronounce. Sorry.
I was like, why are you? Oh no, Raybourn.
I don't know why I said that. Okay, so the little blurb says, they've spent their lives as the deadliest assassins in a clandestine international organization, but now they're 60 years old. 4 females that can't.
I just look over at Tara and she's like, "Oh gosh, your face. You look so bored."
It says it's kill or be killed. Tara's like, eyes rolling back in her head.
Tara's like,
no, because I actually what I was thinking is that we never actually did the last book that we talked about that was also Murder Club or something like that.
It was Thursday.
Well, I had gotten enough messages from people saying they DNF'd it that I thought we should just skip it. So we didn't end up doing it, but we are going to do this one. It's more of like it's supposed to be like a funny kind of like satire about women that are in their 60s that spent their life as assassins and they get pulled into like another case. So it's supposed to be like cozy mystery, kind of like cutesy, whatever. I've heard it's really good. So it is getting good reviews. It was a book of the month club pick, which usually, especially if you don't read a lot, I feel like the book of the month club subscription is a good way to kind of like find out what your taste is, because they like have so many different good options.
Yeah, because like when we first started the Story Society podcast, I was like, rom-com only.
Yeah.
And now I'm like in like fantasy.
It's gotten weird on us.
It's gotten weird. Well, you're reading thrillers, so I mean,
I actually think Tara would like, it's like kind of, what's that one author you gave me the book? John Grisham. There's a genre called police procedural. And I actually feel like you would like that. What are you laughing at?
It's just such a weird
police procedural.
But it's like,
is it like the history of police?
No, it's like if you
like
were
Law
watching
and Order,
CSI or Law and Order, but in a book format. So one of my favorite books that I talk about all the time on TikTok is called The Cipher, and it's really good on audio, and I feel like you would like it. And it's a 3-part series, and Rachel is actually really into like detective type of books, and she said it's like that series is one of the best like done that she's ever seen.
So remember when we were at Sundog and the gal was like, sometimes I listen to him on Audible and I also have the book.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was thinking, how stupid is that? Because I was like, that's such a waste to buy it twice. Now I get that she can like probably pull it off the cover, like the rack there at the bookstore. But I was thinking in the mornings, I don't want to listen to something because I don't want to wake up the kids, which I could listen on my AirPods, but so it's nice to read. But when I was in the car yesterday, it would have been nice to have the Audible, like so I could listen.
Do you have a library card? Because you can get audiobooks for free. That's what you should do.
You're asking if I have a library card?
But I'm sure you have one, like, for the kids.
I'd have to dig it out over the archives. I don't know if I actually do. They always went with the babysitter.
You can link your library card to an app called Libby.
Okay.
And Whitney, I don't know why you don't do this, because you could have gotten Throne of Glass for free. Because it's
so
old.
Here's my thing. I like reading things the minute I want to read them. I don't want to have to sit on a waiting list.
No, I know, but you're reading backlist stuff right now, which means you wouldn't have to wait. You would have like saved yourself $100.
True.
Coming from the girl who's probably spent $5,000 on books this month or this year, but this month.
So if it's not this month.
People are like, dang, how much money do you make?
So
not enough, people, not enough.
Literally.
Whit and I are over here sweating our Target hauls.
What? Oh, I wanted to buy these like $40 boots at Target when we went the other day. And then I called up Isaac, and then while I was talking to him, I was like, you know what? I don't need these boots.
She put them back.
And I put them back. And now I'm like, I wish I'd gotten them.
I know. I told Jake I wanted to buy something designer when I was in New York. And then I was like, but, you know, I got to pay for some embryos. And he was like, what a weird sentence. I was like, I got to pay for those embryos. So it's going to be a pretty expensive purchase. Okay, guys, we love you. Thank you so much for watching the Sisterhood Society podcast. We will be, what?
That was like the most
abrupt ending.
Yeah.
Okay. Paying for embryos and then goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're ready to go. So I'm going to close out this episode. Don't forget to pick up Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn if you would like to read alongside of us this next month. We will be reviewing it. Let's see. A month from next week would be the last week of November.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Last week of October. Okay. So make sure to have their book read by October 26th. That will be the episode that we review and talk about Killers of a Certain Age. And thank you guys so much for watching Story Society / Sisterhood Society. We will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye, guys.